God, give me the power to talk would be the ultimate gift they yearn for, always. More than 95% of the people have this gift, the power to talk. However, only a handful choose to use it to create change. The ones that create change touch the lives of people, contribute to the society, and make the world smile. Be it entrepreneurs, politicians, philanthropists, artists, musicians, sportsperson or influencers. They all have one thing in common. They communicate effectively their thoughts, ideas, and passion. They communicate efficiently to bring about change, not just for themselves, but for others as well. If they can be a change maker, so can you, and only you can. Be the change. Let's do it.
Hi, good evening. My name is Meryl Rock and welcome to Unfiltered, a webinar which would take your English up a notch. Today we will discuss about 4 steps to get closer to English. And we have Mrs. Suju. She holds a TESOL certification on teaching English as a second language and owns a certification in business English provided by University of Washington. She is a head trainer at Inzpira, which is a well-known organization in the sphere of language, IELTS and personality development. Inzpira has tutored more than 15,000 students from different parts of India and elsewhere, and currently trains nearly 1,500 students online. So let's get started with this amazing discussion. I have my questions all ready. Let's turn to Suju. Hi, Suju.
Good evening, Meryl.
Good evening, Suju. I hope you're doing well. Perfect. So let's start with today's discussion. I have a bunch of questions ready. I believe we will need your knowledge and ideas for the same. So shall we start with the first question?
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question is, I assume you might have trained more than 5,000 students throughout your career at Inzpira. So what would you like to share about your experience and work culture that Inzpira offers?
Okay. So happy that you asked this question. I'm very glad that I could share my experience with Inspira through this platform. So Meryl, like you pointed out, throughout my career, I was fortunate enough to train more than 5,000 students who prepare for IELTS and those who want to build their confidence to speak, as well as a bunch of students who are preparing for presentation skills, public speaking, business communication, so on and so, as part of their personality development. So I feel that being in the role of a trainer is more like enlightening the lives of people, that you get to know the problems of others and what struggles that they undergo in their workplace or probably as part of their academics. So in fact, from my experience, what I can say is personally, many students have come to me and talk about the insecurity that they face in their workplace, mainly because of lack of confidence to speak in English. And more than that, for some others, it is all about their dream of working somewhere in an English-speaking country, or probably to get a job. Probably to continue their studies there. So, Yeah, I would say Inspire is the right platform for all those aspirants because here we have something called a one-on-one approach. I feel it is truly influential as compared to the group-based sessions because you get to know the problems of students, you understand them better. So I feel contented when I personally see many students who come back to us and express their gratitude about the heights that they reach in their career. So it's truly a great opportunity, I would say. And yeah, coming to the work culture of Inspira, Inspira is more like a women-centric organization. I won't say it's not completely for women, especially we have a good number of men on board, but I would say 90% of our workforce are women. So this will be the right place for all those innovators and creators who would like to do something different in the field of language development and training. Yeah, that's about my experience.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so moving on to the next question, you mentioned about the 4 mantras to get closer to English. I would like to know more about it.
Yeah, sure. So, Meryl, like you mentioned, I define those 4 mantras to success as 4 steps to get you closer to English, like what the webinar is. So, in my experience, what I've noticed is there are many people who overly emphasis on one particular aspect of speaking English, that is speaking itself. They don't even focus on the other aspects like writing, listening, and reading. But this would be the biggest mistake in the phase of language learning. I would say you should equally focus on all the other aspects along with speaking. I can tell a bit more about that. For example, I would say a big number of students, of learners that we have got from Inspira, what they have shared from their experience is they find it very boring to read a book or something that it doesn't sound more interesting for them. So it may be because of the mistake that they make in the choice of book. If you have not much interest in reading all kinds of book, obviously you can go for your favorite genres and develop a habit of reading. This would help you to get a better insight about the life of people, better insight about the thoughts and visions of many writers. So having a habit of reading would definitely account for building your vocabulary and helping you out there. And coming to your writing aspect, obviously writing is equally important. If you have the habit of writing something down, you get to know more words, you develop an ability to critically analyze things around you, the news that you hear from your newspapers or something, or through other media. So, developing a habit of writing would definitely help you to impart more knowledge. And then coming to listening, obviously, we are there in a cosmopolitan world, more like a corporate culture. You have to deal with people from different parts of the world as part of your job or as part of study purpose. So it's quite good that if you're getting acquainted with the accent of native speakers, this would build your confidence to navigate through the difficult conversations that you have. And most importantly, what I feel a speaking aspect of language learning is speaking is equally important that it helps you to build relationships. It helps you to build a good rapport between with the other person to whom you're conversing with. So it's not really about speaking. Do pay attention to the other 3 important foundations of learning a language. So in summary, what I can say is the 4 steps that you would that would get you closer to English would be reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So come on, guys, that's what you can do.
Perfect. Perfect. So moving on to the next question, I believe the next one is quite interesting. So it is about to their friends that they are getting a training because of certain insecurities that they are facing in their life.
Okay. So, Meryl, what I feel about this is it's definitely true that like what you are mentioning too. Even my students personally said this particular thing to me. I felt it quite surprising. So they feel it ashamed to reveal it to their friends or family that they are undergoing a training in English from some institutions or from some other trainers. Actually, the answer to this question is very simple. You have to take English just as a language. Yes, obviously, English is important as a global language which would help you to connect with people better. These days, there's a profound importance for this English language. So it's truly a requirement that along with learning your subject or along with building your foundations in your academic sphere, you have to be equally confident in English language. Otherwise, it won't help you. But there is nothing wrong with revealing that I'm undergoing a training for English from some other institution. So, obviously, if you're not a native speaker, there is no other go but to get a training from somebody else to help you to build your knowledge on that particular language. So, you can take it that way. But the reason which I can point out for the same could be the complacent attitude of most of us, because we feel that okay, I have got enough knowledge in English, so why should I go for more? But in fact, it's not about just speaking English, but it's about improving your grace of speech. It does require some sort of training. This can definitely help you out, and there is nothing wrong in revealing the same. And some people, I believe, mostly even in the starting phase, most of us tend to be less confident to speak in English, so we tend to be in our comfort zone, probably with a group of friends or with family members with whom we can interact in our mother tongue, and not switch to another language would make you less confident. But getting out of your comfort zone is most important when you're learning to ace a language. So avoid the complacent language, get out of your comfort zone, forget about the errors that you make. I even tell most of my students, when you're getting more conscious about your errors, you tend to make a lot of mistakes. So it's because you're just focusing on the strict grammatical patterns that we have in language. It doesn't make any sense. So avoid such things. There is nothing to worry about making mistakes when you're trying to learn a new language. So it's definitely fine, perfect. Take that way. So avoid being complacent. Build a confidence to interact with people in English. Forget about your errors, and I would say it is generally something vested with the status of different people. People feel that this is something that is going to affect my self esteem or prestige if I reveal to somebody else that I'm learning a language. So try to forget about those aspects. This will definitely not help you out. And one way of building confidence would be get acquainted with more words. As many as number of words that you get to know, you would tend to be more confident to speak or ideate in English. And it's not like I'm going around and learning many words a day. It doesn't work. So make sure that you're wise in making your choices. It's not about learning 10 new words a day. It doesn't make any sense, because we are all human beings and it's impossible for a person to just acquire a lot of words, and we cannot reciprocate in our day-to-day conversation. So be wise in your choices. For example, I can give you an example. For example, let us say I'm a person who's working in health profession. Probably when I'm dealing with my colleagues or when I'm dealing with the other parties, I may have to use many terms associated with that. So I can diversify my knowledge on that area, get to read more articles and journals which will make me more familiarized with the topic specific vocabulary. But on the other hand, if you want to be a good English speaker, don't confine yourself to your subject or don't confine yourself to your language, that particular barrier of your profession. So go outside. You can diversify the things that you choose to read. You can read more articles. You can listen to some blogs, or you can follow some YouTube channels. It would get you learn more words and phrases that would help you out in your day-to-day conversation, so that even if you come across somebody else, in some point of time, this is not going to hamper your confidence. So make sure that you don't adhere to certain stereotypes of society have. Just come out of that. There is nothing to feel ashamed that you're not confident. I mean, you're undergoing a training for English just perfectly fine. Okay, trust me. Yes. Meryl, one more point which I would like to add in this particular instance is, like you mentioned, when people learn vocabulary, this is one particular question that many of our students ask me. How should I learn vocabulary? Is that I should know 10 to 15 words in a particular book, or then read from that daily, or try to frame sentences accordingly? It doesn't work. Like I mentioned earlier, we are all humans, we cannot do that. So the best way to get out of this problem would be, you have to be very wise in your choices. Let us assume that you're reading a book and you came across 10 to 15 words. So what I'm going to do with its 10 to 15 words? Definitely it's not going to make any sense. Let us say the word happy. It's a very common word that we do use in our day-to-day conversation. But there are many synonyms for this word happy. Let us say there is a synonym jubilant, or you can say I feel euphoric at that moment. It shows that you're very happy and excited. Or I would like to rejoice all those moments with my friends. So rejoice would be another word which rephrase happiness. Or you can simply say that I feel delighted. So there are multiple synonyms for a word. Similarly, if you see the word sad, sad is a very common word. Instead, you can try many synonyms. I feel distressed, or this would mean an agony, or you can say this was a situation of dismay. Oh, I was in a state of morose when my pet dog died. So there are many synonyms for that particular word. So in fact, the best way to do is, it's not about trying to find out a lot of synonyms. It doesn't make any sense. So because you need words, but learning a lot of words with similar meaning is not going to help you. So the best thing that you can do is be selective in your choice. So let us assume that you've got 10 new words. From the 10 new words, you select 2 or 3 words which you find could be used in some instances. So again, on learning words, you should be very clear about this, because uh, there is something called uh, there is something called vocabulary building. So through that, you would get to know more about words which would help you out in your day-to-day conversations. Okay, so building vocabulary in your day-to-day conversations would be really helpful, provided, like I mentioned earlier, it's not about selecting 2 or 3 words, but make sure you can use such words somewhere. That is quite important. So I hope that is clear for you. It's not about learning to do a lot of words in a stretch, but be selective and make sure the words that you choose should be useful somewhere. That's it.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Okay, so I believe the next question is about many people believe that watching English movies can improve their English. So what should we obtain from watching English movies?
Okay. So, I can help. What the main advice that I would like to convey to those people who are interested in watching English movies would be, make sure you are not trying to emulate the accent of a native speaker. For example, for many people, learning English is just like trying to emulate the accent of native speakers. So, trying to emulate their accent or imitate their accent would make you sound fake. So, do you want to sound fake when you're conversing in another language? Definitely not. So, forget about that. It's not perfect to, trying to emulate their accent. Like I mentioned earlier, Indian accent is something globally accepted. It is a globally accepted third most accent in the world. So, like any other native speakers, you can be proud to use Indian accent, provided you don't have the mother tongue influence. So, you can watch movies to learn about new words and phrases, but make sure that you are not trying to creep all this native accent in your conversation, which would make you sound fake. And yeah, coming to certain other information which I would like to convey, certain words would be like you mentioned, the colloquial expressions that we have. When I come across something which I feel it's a nonsense, I can say Kotswala. Oh, Kotswala. It shows it's nonsense. But Kotswala would be a very informal usage in British English. So if you go around and talking to people like Kotswala, nobody would understand. Especially this will sound inappropriate in a formal scenario. So you can avoid such words and expressions. And reductions, yes, you can learn about a lot of reductions from English language. For example, I'm going to go there. I want to buy this. So there is something happening in front of my building. I have to do this. So such kind of reductions are obviously okay, but too much would sound inappropriate, especially in a formal setting. So be wise with your choices. That is more important.
Perfect. I will keep that in mind. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, so I believe the next question is learning many aspects of grammar since childhood. So, however, grammar is still a nightmare for many.
Yes. So, Meryl, this is something that even many students have asked me. See, grammar is something that is bothering me all the time. So people would say that whether I should learn advanced grammars, okay, teach me some advanced grammar, let me learn that, let me put in the words. Yeah. Yes, obviously, learning grammar is quite important when you're learning any language. But if you're too much inclined to learning grammar and the concepts related to that, this is definitely going to hinder your confidence when you're speaking. For example, I can put it very clearly. Uh, for speaking, to certain extent, grammar forms can be flexible. For example, let us assume that Meryl, you've asked me a question like, "Do you love ice cream?" I can simply answer like, yes, I do. I don't even have to complete that statement. The meaning is conveyed. So you can be flexible in terms of using grammar expressions when you speak. But when it comes to writing, obviously you need to be a little more cautious about the same. The use of punctuations, the use of grammatical structures, how well you put it into sentences, everything matters most. So make sure that you never compromise on such things when you're writing. So I can give an example. So while speaking, like I mentioned, you can be flexible, but provided you are not making blunders. A boy is climbing a tree. It's a perfect sentence. But what if I say a climbing boy is a tree? It sounds inappropriate, right? So such kind of blunders, I mean, in terms of tense issues that we make, should be avoided when you're speaking. But the same thing when it comes to writing, we need to focus a bit more on how to put our ideas together without sounding too verbose. Verbose in the sense your sentences should not be too stretchy. That I'm writing, a sentence which would go up to 6 or 7 lines, then it will be quite difficult for the person to comprehend the meaning. So apart, rather than doing the same, what you can try would be a different method. You can try combining statements together. For example, Raghav is my uncle. He's running a business. So these are two sentences, very simple sentences. But if I want to write it, probably it will be a better idea if we can combine it together. So Raghav, my uncle, runs a business. So now it's a single statement and sounds more sensible than the last one. So writing is all about the way of creating a style of yours. So simple sentences may not help in writing. So it would be good if you try some aspects of punctuation and connecting words and linking sentences to make it interesting. This would definitely help. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to the next question. This question is about, I believe, yes. So now there is a common remark by almost everyone
Yes. Yeah. Most common complaint, I would say. I can speak, but I cannot write. So this question is something that I expect mostly from people who are working because they are less habitual towards the action of writing. So they usually speak, but when it comes to writing, they get fewer opportunities. Probably they will drop a mail once in a while or prepare reports if that is very common. But for most of the people, writing is not habitual. So the best way to get out of that difficulty would be to start diversifying your area of interest. So what you can do is learn about different aspects. Don't confine yourself, like I mentioned earlier. Don't confine yourself to a specified sphere. Make sure you go out of that particular boundary that you have set in your knowledge and read articles and journals which are related to different areas. This would definitely help you to build your vocabulary. So, topic specific vocabulary is something that you definitely require when you speak. Sorry, when you write. I'm sorry, when you write. So, when you write something down, you should have certain set of vocabulary that would definitely go well with the context in which you're putting it. For example, suppose I want to write something related to environment. If I'm not familiar with the word like deforestation or fragile ecosystem or probably the disruption of ecosystem or ecological balance, so probably I may not be able to write something effective if I'm not so familiar with such words. So, starting to build a style of writing is more about diversifying your topics of research or probably the articles that you read or the materials that you refer to. So make sure understand your context. For example, I can give you an idea. For IELTS preparation, when it comes to writing, there is something called a task 2 where they write about an essay related to some topics that they are assigned to. Mostly they will get topics related to society or relationships between people, technology, our day-to-day life, or probably it could be something related to environment as such. And so in order to write an essay about those things, what I suggest my student is read and search some articles related to that so that you get acquainted with certain topic specific words. And when you start putting the same into your writing, this make it more easier for you. And most importantly, let us go back to that particular point of creating a habit of writing. That is more important. So you can start with scribbling something down. It can be what you see outside, the hustle and bustle of your city life, or probably when you see out of your window, what you see the next. It can be about the sunrise or sunset or whatever you are interested in. So make sure you pen down something. It can be in the form of a diary about the incidents that happened in your day-to-day life in English. This would help you to build your confidence to write something down. And mostly in a professional environment, when you're writing down words, be cautious to avoid the informal expressions or the informal words and usages. That is more important.
Certainly. Perfect. Moving on to the next question, I believe it is yes. So people emphasize the importance of reading to acquire language skills. However, it is a still huge task for many. What advice would you give to those who feel unsure about reading or writing?
Yes. Yes, Meryl. So I can share my thoughts regarding the same. Like you mentioned, we mostly emphasis on the importance of acquiring language skills. However, when you start reading something, you feel uninterested, you will doze. So you are in the vicious cycle of trying to read something, but finally end up in doing nothing. So some of my friends, they usually say that, okay, today I've set a target. I'm going to read 10 books within 10 days. So I'm going to finish these much pages. So actually, when you're setting such unattainable targets or unachievable targets, this will kill your enthusiasm. See, it is just common sense. Think, if I'm a person who's not interested to read and I set up a goal that I have to read 50 pages daily, does it work? Definitely it won't. So it doesn't make any sense, when you're setting up such unattainable targets. So make sure your goals are very short, something that you can attain within a limited span of time. This would be more good. For example, I can say you can start with smaller books. Okay, so when I started the habit of reading, what I did is I started with very small books, which are which have some few pages that I can easily complete. And most importantly, select your favorite genre. For example, if I'm a person who's not interested in fictional books, and that there is nothing good with going with fictional books, rather your choice would be something else that suits your interest. So make sure the choice of book is something that suits your interest. So I started reading from Alchemist. I read Brida, and I read many books like Goosebumps and some detective novels of Sherlock Holmes. These all attracts me. So you can choose your favorite genre and choose some books that you feel could be covered within this defined period of time. Set your targets very short. Let us say you can try reading 2 or 3 pages a day, and then once you accomplish that, you can build on it. That would be all good. And most importantly, I would like to add one more thing. When you're trying to read books just to learn vocabulary, this would kill your interest. For example, I've personally seen many people who would sit with a book to read it, but finally they will end up having something called a notepad or a book where they would note the vocabulary then and there when they come across new words and search for the meaning and then go ahead. But actually, this will be something time killing, as well as this can never help you out. So, what I can suggest to you is, when you're doing such things, make sure you research those words later. First, focus on finishing the book. Try to understand what the content is about. Okay. Yes, like somebody has pointed out, it's quite important that we should be a friend to the book, be loyal to the book which you are reading, but make sure your enthusiasm is not hindered just because you're stopping then and there to learn new words. It would be totally a bad idea, so abandon that.
Perfect. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so I believe the next question is about okay, so the next question is about children. Okay, like nowadays, a lot of children, they're using a lot of technology every day. Right? For example, they play games, they watch movies. So how can parents ensure that children don't use technology
Yes. So, Meryl, what I feel about the same is, it is possible that you can deviate the interest of children from sticking indoors and watching something that, sticking or glued to their internet screen, probably their tablets or mobile phones. No, in a meme that I've recently come across, it literally says that in 90s, what parents used to do is they just want to get their children indoors after playing outdoors. But this nowadays it's the other way around. We have to persuade our children to go outside and play because they are so much glued to the screen. And this is something that concerning parents, especially in the present scenario when everything is closed up because of pandemic outbreak. We really have to find out some strategy to help children overcome this particular, uh, you know, uh, some particular ways to get over this difficulty. So, what I can suggest you in this particular area is, I can say, it is quite important that we should make sure that children are learning something on the meantime they are focusing on their computer or their screen. So it is great that if you can try avoiding this problem by making them to engage in some interactive games. Let us say we can help them to make interactive with some comic movies like Ratatouille or the Lion King, or there are many other animation series that interest children, and along with watching those, they, they, they get to know more about English language. They become more closer to it. They get acquainted to the accent of the native speakers. So this will be something that we can do. And along with that, I would say some other aspect which we can work on would be helping them to engage in some word scrambles or puzzles or games that would help them to learn new words parallelly when they are watching those series. This would help. So there is nothing to worry about their overemphasis in spending their time before television or spending their time before laptop or their mobile phone. Instead, this would be some other way to get out of this difficulty. Okay, so that's what I feel about the same matter.
Perfect. Perfect. So moving on to the next question. For many learners, it is not only about learning to speak fluent, but also improving the grace of their speech. Is it the one determining factor that makes a learner successful?
Definitely. So, like I mentioned earlier, everyone can speak. Okay. So, fluency is obviously important. So, you have to speak English with confidence. That is something uh, that we can never compromise. But make sure that when you're learning to speak English, you should understand your crowd. So, improving the grace is equally important. I can share something from my experience. In Inspira, there are many learners who just come for a practice session with trainer. They just want a platform where they can interact with the other person in English and get a feedback about their performance. So uh, this is what is called as talking sessions. We feel these talking sessions are quite important in our practice of language learning. We can never compromise on this. And what else we can do is learning to improve on the grace of your language is all about acquiring good vocabulary. So make sure that you have some good set of vocabulary. But again, when it comes to vocabulary, learn phrasal verbs and idioms that would help you to improve the grace of your language. I can give an example. So I can say the meeting is cancelled. Okay. So I'm saying the meeting is cancelled. So cancel is a normal word that we choose from my vocabulary to idea. So instead of cancel, I can say the meeting is called off. So called off is a phrasal verb which would convey the meaning better. So reveal the secret. So uh, reveal the secret means it is more like I'm saying, okay, tell me the secret, tell me the secret. So instead of that, I can try an idiom which would better convey the meaning. So you can say, mm, get the cat out of your bag. So this is an idiom that would help you to improve your language learning. So idioms and phrases equally incorporated in your language can help you feel better and confident about the language that you speak. So make sure you pay attention to that. And something else which I would like to add, make sure you're never abrupt in your speech or abrupt in your conversation, whatever you make. For example, let us assume you ask me a favor. I'm simply saying I can't do that. So now it sounds rude. Okay. So it sounds rude and imperfect. Instead, I can make it more polite, saying, it would be great if you can help me out in this process. Or else you can say, I'm afraid that I cannot help you out right now. So, what about trying something else? So, these all ways would be the better approach to this further thing. So, learn phrases, idioms, and some way of indirect expressions that would help you to soften the instances. This is definitely helpful, I guess.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to the next question. I believe it's very interesting. It's about etiquettes. So, etiquettes are more sought after in a professional setting because they help establish behavior and
Okay, so Meryl, your question was about etiquettes, right? Etiquettes in a professional sphere. So, how working professions should be trained in this business communication? So, business communication is one particular aspect that Inspira is trying to evolve in. Even there are many institutions train the same, but we make it based on a need-based training. If there are many people who come and say that I can speak English, but when it comes to a presentation, when I'm facing an audience, when I'm speaking to somebody, I lack this confidence to ideate. So what should I do? Or when it comes to professional sphere, it's not about using the language, but being professional is more important. So in business communication, we say there is something called direct and indirect way of communicating. Like I mentioned, if you want to convey something that sounds rude for the other person, or if you want to communicate something that would be probably unwelcoming for the other person, then it would be good for you to sound indirect. So this is a major aspect that most of the learners are lacking, and this is what we train them in. I can state it with few examples. Let us assume that you are facing a mail related to your work purpose. So probably you can ask them, I'm writing this mail to complain about so and so. See, the first line itself sounds so inappropriate because you mentioned that uh, you are writing this to complain about something. So, rather than going directly and saying that I am writing this just to complain, you can probably make it very simple. So, you can say that I'm writing this letter to convey the problem that many of our teammates have in getting this work done. So, if there's any way to help them out with building their capability to progress with this task, it would be great. Now, it sounds more formal and positive as well as polite. So, this is something that we need to work on, definitely. So, if you can work on such areas, this would help you to build your confidence in a professional sphere. So that is something which I would like to suggest every English speakers. So this is something that you should never ever avoid in your speech, especially in a formal setting. And next important thing which I can mention is some aspects related to telephone etiquettes. For example, assume that I've got a call from somebody and the Mr. X is saying that he wants to talk with Mr. Y. Then what I can do is probably instead of saying sorry, Mr. X is Mr. Y is another meeting, you can't talk to him right now. This would be a more abrupt way of ending up the call, and you are not extending the help to the other person. Instead, the best way, what you can do is try to make it more interactive and say that you are also ready to help that person anyway. So probably you can say, um, I'm sorry, Mr. X is not right now available to take the call. Can I leave a message? So when you are saying, can I leave a message, you are extending your help to the other person and not ending up the call abrupt. So there are a lot to learn about email etiquettes and telephone etiquettes, as well as the communication that can take place in a business sphere. So it has something to do with your negotiations, presenting a proposal, how well you are setting up a meeting, how you discuss things with your teammates. So the key idea would be never be overpowering on a person. Accept their ideas. There is nothing like a bad idea and good idea in business, but it's more like you accept the idea of everyone, but take the best out of it. So trying to interact with person in an effective manner would be the best strategy, I guess.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to the next question. It's mostly, I think, about fillers. It is quite common that people are uncomforted by stuttering and fillers when they speak in English, and they mostly give up after many desperate attempts. So, can you tell us some ways to impart fluency?
Yes, Meryl, I can help you out in that. So, like you mentioned, this is a common struggle that most of the people have. That they are encountered by something called stuttering, and we call it as crutch words along with fillers. So, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with this term, crutch words, but this is a major factor that hinders our confidence when we speak. So it will be good if you can avoid these crutch words in your conversation. It will be different for different individuals. Let us say, for someone it would be actually, for some others it would be usually, and for some other people it would be like something like that. So such words they use it differently as gap fillers in between their speech, and doesn't sound good. So make sure that you avoid such kind of fillers in your speech. That is quite important. And so how to do that? That would be the major question that comes to every one of us. I would say there is a interesting method to get out of these fillers. You won't believe. It's about creating a muscle memory. For example, suppose I want to convey something and I'm the habit of using a lot of crutch words and fillers in between, then I can create some sort of aspect that would remind me always that I'm using that particular filler. Because I've heard one of my friends saying that he used to pinch his fingers when he's making fillers. So this is one way of getting him remember that I'm going to use a filler the next time. So such creating such kind of muscle memory would give you a reminder that you are about to make a filler now, so stop there and then continue. But actually this works, I'm not joking, this definitely works, so you can try on that. And next important thing would be, in order to avoid fillers or stuttering in your speech, the best way to slow down your pace of speech. Nobody is going to prompt you to finish your speech in a haste, so there is uh, so you can slow down a bit, pay a bit more attention to your intonation. For example, instead of saying everything in a same tone, the best way to do that will be go slow and same like how you use exclamations and other punctuations when you're writing down something. You can try using good expressions in terms of your intonation when you speak. So building on your intonation skill would also help you to avoid fillers. So go down, slow down in your pace. That would be the best way. And obviously, getting acquainted to more words. Without words, nothing can help. So it's not about learning too many words, but like I mentioned earlier, be selective, be wise in your choices, and learn the appropriate words. That would be fine.
Perfect. Okay, coming to the last question. I've heard people referring that is even tougher than moving a mountain. Meanwhile, there are many successful speakers who say that moving a mountain is easier than speaking in English. So, can you tell us some examples of successful speakers who say that
Yes. So that question sounds quite interesting. Learning English is even more tougher than moving a mountain. But this is actually a serious misconception that most of us have. English is not that tough to learn. So never have such stereotypes in your mind. English is easy because no, I can say with certain facts. In fact, so as per many research, English is a language where you don't have that definite grammatical structures and patterns. It stays the same even with different usages, though with minor exceptions, I would say. So, as compared to any other languages, we usually say that the toughest language to learn would be Mandarin, Chinese language. And so, as compared to any other languages, it is quite easy to learn English, provided you should be thorough with the base. But you've got immense resources to help you to gain more language, in terms of help you to gain your confidence in language. As compared to any other languages in the world, the number of resources available to you for English is quite huge, I can say. It can be in form of books, it can be in the form of podcasts and journals, research articles. There's so many things to learn in English. So make use of the right aspect. It's not like you're getting too many information in a stretch. This won't help you. But be selective, and if you have a right trainer who would help you to build your language skills eventually, this would definitely help you. So English is never tough. So don't have such notions in your mind. It's time to get over and start your preparation. There's nothing that pulls you back from your English knowledge.
Perfect. Well, it was a wonderful discussion, Suju, and I would like to thank you for your time and the knowledge that you have shared with us.
Sure, Meryl. I can definitely say that this was a wonderful discussion. I could share my experience in language learning and teaching students over, those who are aspiring to do different things. It was a great experience that talking with you. Even you come up with some interesting questions, which I could share my thoughts. So I feel this was helpful for all the attendees in this webinar as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Inspira, for this opportunity as well. And this was a great platform. It was great talking to you.
Perfect. Thank you to our audience for tuning in for today's webinar. We have a small surprise for all aspiring learners. We have a 10% Inspira, and to avail the same, kindly check the description box for the details.
Inspira.